Okay, it is 11 o'clock, so I am going to get started because we have quite a bit to cover. And it's exciting because we're going to kind of build on if you attended or were able to watch the replay of last month's webinar. And there is going to be some overlap, but that will, I think, be very helpful for you as we kind of build on a lot of things. Because in the beginning of the year, we're talking about your whole plan for 2022, which can seem monstrous, but this will help kind of break it down to more of the granular level, specifically as it relates to optimizing your listings. So I am going to go ahead and I'll share my screen. Okay. And we're just going to jump right in it. So welcome, I'm Becky with Click Fluency. If you have not attended a webinar before, it's nice to virtually meet you. I hope that you've had a good start to 2022 so far. I always love New Year's, fresh starts. Like I said just previously, last month we covered a lot of ground and it was like a really high level view. But this month, I wanted to kind of take a deeper dive into some specifics. So I'm really excited about sharing that today. So I've mentioned this before, but your product listings, they're like a hub. This is kind of the place where they live is what you can think about on Amazon. And here's an example of a listing. We've got the title. This one you can see better of the images all built out, plus there's video or videos. In this case, they have 2 videos. And then you can see those little boxes, by the way, you may or may not be aware, but those are what would be variations. So there's, probably like your original soap, but then you've got your sensitive skin version, which is what we've got highlighted here. And they've got maybe other different scents or things like that on the other variations. So they're all living in one place though. You can see the product review ratings, which is over 20,000. Obviously Dove is a massive brand, mega brand. Then you can see below that, where after it has the item form and things like that, you can see about the item. Those are the bullet points. And then further down, not on this screenshot, there's also the A+ content if you have brand registry, which is another element of the listing and kind of the core things you're looking at when you're thinking about optimizing and making sure your listing is converting as well as it can be. Okay, so kind of to delve into why conversion is important on Amazon. So I'm going to give you a scenario and then we'll look at another scenario. And obviously you can already see both scenarios, but let's say in the first scenario, you've got 2,500 sessions per month, which if you do have that in a month, that's actually a nice substantial amount of sessions, okay? Let's say the average transaction value, so how much people are usually buying from you is on average $50. And let's say that would equal to about 125 buyers and it's converting at 5%, which depending on your category, that is actually pretty low. On average, 12% is kind of the typical average we've seen. But we've actually seen much higher conversion rates than that, but that's just with some data that we've looked at, we've seen that as noted as the kind of average conversion rate. But in this first scenario, it's only converting at 5%. And we have seen that, especially if a listing, I'll show you an example of a poor listing, but especially if your listing is not built out at all, you could see the really low conversion rates. Scenario 2, let's think through. Let's say that nothing changes with the sessions, even though we are going to talk about that a little bit in today's teaching, but you've got $50, same transaction value, nothing's changed there, but it has increased on conversions to 25%, which is a very good target to hit depending on your niche. I will always say that because we've seen things, for instance, in the beauty category, it can be slightly lower because people kind of have very stark opinions on things, so they can kind of seem more polarizing with the conversions. Whereas if it's a very specific, like it's in a specific niche type product, you can expect to even see conversion rates even higher than 25%. We've seen over 50% conversion rates. And then that would lead to about 625 buyers on that month. So the first scenario you can see led to a little over like $6,200 in sales, which is good if that was just one product on Amazon. But then think about it, in the second scenario, you've gotten over 31,000 in sales. And that was not even increasing your sessions or the traffic to the listing, but just increasing how much people were then converting when they landed on your listing. And the reason I really wanted to touch on this earlier on is because with listing optimization, before diving too much into Amazon advertising, is because if you are pushing traffic to product listings that are not converting as well as they could, then you could be hurting your Amazon efforts. I mentioned your return on ad spend could be a lot lower than it should be or could be. So you could be pushing all this traffic and you could just be exacerbating a problem that's still there. So you have to be careful with Amazon advertising. We definitely recommend it. And there will be future teachings where I'll delve more into Amazon advertising, but your listing is really foundational to how your ads are going to perform. So that first image, for instance, is going to influence how much of a click-through rate you're going to see on your advertising side, right? So that'll influence your number of sessions that people are even clicking into the listing, things like that. So conversion, as you can see, is super important. In this just, mock scenario, it improved the revenue by 5 times. And that was just by conversion rates. And we have seen before and after case studies of where we've seen the product before we were tracking the progress of the conversion rate, making changes that I'll be mentioning today. And then the after result was a much, we've seen actually as high as doubling in conversion rates, which is quite amazing. So this is very, very possible when you're optimizing your listing and really optimizing it to convert. So, here's some more examples actually of what we've seen, actual case studies. I don't have the specific screenshots on these, but we've seen it jump from 13 to about 17%. That one's is just kind of a smaller increase, but still nice. Once again, 24 to 28%, and we've seen a 26 to 34. So these are small changes, but they really can have an impact. And just keep in mind too, when your product listing is optimized, this is also going to have a residual impact and effect. It's almost thinking of it like not completely passive, but it is a way that you're going to continue to get results month after month. So it might not look very impressive sometimes. You're like, well, it only increased by 8% converting. But if you think about it with how much traffic is going to a product listing, and then you add up that compound effect after 3 months or after 6 months of having that bump in conversion, you can see how that's really going to have a nice impact on your bottom line, on your profitability, on your desire to grow in sales with Amazon. So, and I've already mentioned here, but those were performing pretty well. Those were technically all above that average of the 12%, average conversion rate on Amazon. So some of them were well over that, but to see that they even went up higher, that is really amazing to see. And a side note to this, and this could probably be its own webinar in and of itself, but a listing should not be a set it and forget it, because there should be ways that you're continuing to improve that conversion rate. So I'm going to show you examples of like a poor looking product listing. Maybe your listing isn't like that, and maybe you think it looks good. We have actually seen product listings look very nice on the outside, from like just the outside looking in at a listing, but we realized it wasn't actually maximizing its ability to convert. And things were not getting tested out. Things were not being improved upon. Things were not getting updated. They were just kind of left there. You have to keep in mind, people, the way they're searching on Amazon is always going to be changing. It's always going to be based on what are people actually typing in and searching for on Amazon? That's not going to be the same it was 2 years ago. So keep that in the back of your mind if you're thinking, well, I've updated my listing. So I shouldn't have to touch it ever again, especially if you have a smaller product catalog on Amazon, like 10 products or less, or especially if it's 5 products or less. You should really be looking at ways to just continue to increase what you already have existing on Amazon before you necessarily even add products to your catalog, which you definitely could and should. But keep that in mind, that you could be stretching it and making it go even further. Okay, so why? Think about, and this is not something that you necessarily have to answer. I can't actually hear if anyone was to interact right now, but I don't have my headphones in. But why is getting your product listing to convert better? Why is that important to you? What difference would that make if your product listing was converting or even converting better than it is currently? What would that, and how would that impact your brand, your business, just in general? It doesn't even have to be specifically on Amazon. If you were to see more people buying on Amazon, how will that impact